Okay, guys, what's up, podcast? This week I have Mr. Tim Paulin on with me today, and he is the Executive Director of BNI for Louisiana and Mississippi, or parts of Mississippi, I believe. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How are you, DJ?
And I'm okay. So I wanted to get you on and kind of talk about what we're going through as business owners or business professionals, and also you're in New Orleans, Louisiana. So, I mean, what are you guys dealing with down there right now?
It's crazy. So we've been sheltering in place or stay-at-home order for several weeks. Actually, the mayor of New Orleans got ahead of this thing, and she put that order in place on Friday. And then on Monday, the governor of Louisiana put that order in place for the rest of the state. This virus does not discriminate. It doesn't care who you are. And if you get close to it, you will get it, and it can, it will affect other people. It is crazy to see the pictures of the French Quarter and Bourbon Street and Canal Street just flat out empty. Nobody on the street, no cars. So the good news is that people are taking this warning seriously. They're taking this disease seriously. They're staying away from each other, and they're kind of sitting in place. We've seen in the state of Louisiana a really dramatic increase in the number of cases this week. Yeah. But we've seen that dramatic increase in the number of cases because we've got tests coming back.
Right, exactly.
I will tell you that they had a couple of drive-through testing sites in New Orleans earlier this week. They had 3 of them. They shut one of them down and moved it over to one spot over at the University of New Orleans. So they had one in kind of close to the French Quarter and one at the University of New Orleans and one on the West Bank. And they weren't getting enough people driving through the one in New Orleans to warrant keeping it open.
Right, okay.
So they moved it out to UNO so that there's one place for drive-through testing, which to me was a really encouraging sign. It was a sign, if you don't have as much people in line waiting to get through that drive-through, they're not showing symptoms.
Right.
Maybe this thing what we're doing is having an effect, and we're starting to slow it a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I mean, it's going to work its way through no matter what, but if we can all just kind of, do what we're instructed and make it through this hard time, we can hopefully see the light at the end of the tunnel,
Absolutely.
Well, Tim, I'd like to get a little background on you. So we've known each other for, probably like 5 years now, I believe, since we started our business. And I met you through BNI. And for those who are listening or watching, BNI's Business Networking International, it's a worldwide association where business owners and professionals can network together. Can you give me a little background of how you got started, just, I guess, coming up from a kid and being in New Orleans and growing up and getting into business and all that?
Yeah, so I worked for a company called Muzak.
Okay.
I sold music systems to businesses, marketing on hold. If you've ever gotten on an elevator and you heard Led Zeppelin on strings, I sold that kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
And I had, my job was cold calling, and I had a couple of sales jobs before that where it was a lot of knocking on doors and trying to talk to decision makers that weren't interested. And I had been looking for some sort of networking group, some sort of referral group. And I got invited to my first BNI chapter in 1999 here in New Orleans. And I literally visited the group, visited the meeting, and went, this is for me. I'm home. This is awesome. So I filled out the application. I became a member. And I was a member for about 8 months. And then the executive director who had the franchises before me came to me and said, hey, you should come work for me full time. You'd be good at this. I went, nah, you don't have enough money. I'm good. I'm making good money doing this. And then I took a leap of faith. A couple of months later, he had kind of been after me a little bit. And I took a leap of faith and became the managing area director for the state of Louisiana in 2000. And then in 2003, I made a partnership with that guy and bought a majority of the franchise from him. So he was still a silent partner, but I was executive director, which is what I wanted so bad. I wanted to be executive director. I wanted to own this thing. And then I did. Well, and I was like, wow, what did I get myself into? Look at all the stuff I got to do. Business owners, a lot of times when you're the technician and you go into being the business owner, you really don't know what you're getting yourself into.
You're right.
So I had the experience, I got the opportunity to build chapters from 2000 until August of 2005, where I was rocking and rolling around the state of Louisiana, even including Shreveport and Bossier and Southwest Louisiana. And then Hurricane Katrina happened. And Hurricane Katrina blew away half of our members and half of our chapters overnight. It was just gone. And it took us a couple of years to recover from that, as it took everybody years to recover from that, and so we recovered. The good news was that the members of our organization that were a part of BNI after Katrina were able to get back to business quicker because we had the assistance of BNI members from around the globe. Yeah. They were sending us gas cards. They were sending us computers. They were sending us, stuff that we needed to get back to business. And we had a great support system in the network for BNI. I ran, after Hurricane Katrina, I partnered back up with my partner, with Dave, and we ran Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, and North Carolina for BNI. 2,800 members, 140 chapters across 4 states. It was a lot of fun. It was crazy. But, in 2008, my wife and I had twins, and I was traveling so much that I just didn't want to do that anymore. So I pulled that back. Now I got Louisiana and Central and Southern Mississippi. We've got 61 chapters across the 2 states with about 1,350 members. And we have pivoted every one of our chapters to an online meeting in the last 2 weeks. Yes. Every one of them has a Zoom account, online meetings with a platform, so that we can help keep our members' businesses together. And when we get back to work, and we will get back to work, we hit the ground running. And we hit that V curve and just skyrocket.
Well, saying that, and parts of that story I didn't know, so it's glad to hear that. In saying that, so everyone's had to make a shift in how they're doing business right now, whether it be, communication, of course, or maybe losing, operations, or just, making a complete shift in everything they're doing, totally, from working in an office with hundreds of employees to going home, and we're doing everything via virtual, so Zoom like we're doing now. And what is your feedback on that? Not only for, just members of BNI and the network, but business owners in a whole, or business professionals, or just anyone right now going through what we're going through. What have you seen? I know you've seen probably quite a bit of negative and quite a bit of positive. What's your take on that?
Well, I tell you, do a couple of things. First and foremost, get with your banker, get with your CPA, your accountant, and make sure that you are applying for every bit of assistance that's out there and available to you. The way you're going to make it through this is with the government's help. I know that's crazy for a lot of us because we resist that. We can do it on our own. But the fact of the matter is you're going to need help through this. So make sure that you're applying for the things that are available for you and take advantage of those programs. Keep paying your people. Don't fire people. Don't lay them off. Don't furlough them. If you're less than 500 employees, you qualify for this stuff. Yeah. Make sure you take advantage of it, because guess what? It'll be forgiven. It's free payroll for you, and you're still going to have to pay the taxes on it. But it is payroll that you get to get out, and you get to keep your people employed. That's number one. Number two, stay connected with your customers. Stay connected. Pick them up. Pick up the phone and call them. Send them a note. Hey, how you doing? Not, hey, do you want to buy something? But right. How you doing? Do you need anything? Is there anything I can do to help you? So that way, when we're ready to get back, you reached out to them. You showed them that you cared, and they're going to stick with you for a lot longer than that. And then the last thing I'll say is start to form new alliances. Get involved. If you get invited to stuff online, and it doesn't matter what it is. I got invited to a cocktail hour in Charlotte, North Carolina, where a buddy of mine who owns a bar in Charlotte did an hour-long presentation about rum and the daiquiri and the mojito. That's and great. Taught you how to make a proper drink, which was really cool. And so the connections that you can make on these things can be invaluable as you start to get back to business. And I will say one other thing. Don't make it about you and what you need. Make it about giving to other people. Make it about, hey, how can I help DJ get through this thing so that our relationship continues to solidify and increase. And so that would be the things I'd suggest that you do with your time.
And that being said, I like you said that, because I mean, a lot of people right now are complaining about the time that they have to themselves and don't know what to do with it. We have a lot of people that, you know, may have been out every day wasting money on things or doing things that weren't vital to their family or their business. And now we've all had to take a step back and kind of look at what's important. And you know, what you said is very, very important, because like you said, just reaching out to customers or family members or whatever it may be, or friends, you know, in these times is very important, because a lot of people need that. They need something. They need a little bit of positive energy. And yeah, most definitely not trying to sell to anyone right now, because we're losing business left and right. And of course, you know, no matter what industry you're in, it's really affecting everyone. It trickles down. I can't think of a market that this hasn't affected except fast food. I feel like fast food might have an uptick, but yeah.
Right, you've got fast food, you've got groceries, you've got pharmacies, you've got gas stations, and if you are fortunate enough to have a toilet paper manufacturing warehouse somewhere, you're making some good coin.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. But it's definitely, I feel like it's humbling. You know, we're going through these things, and it's bringing it all back home and making you realize what's important. And that being said, when you said grocery stores, so tell me about the chickens in the background. So
So this is a lot. This is years that I've had this in my backyard, and it's a funny story. I went to a buddy's house, and he had little chicks, and I've got twin boys, and at the time I want to say they were probably 6, 7 years old or so, around Easter time. And my little boys went gaga over these chicks. I mean, they just were having so much fun. And I looked at my buddy, and I hope he doesn't see this. I looked at my buddy, and I was like, well, that dude's kind of an idiot. If he can raise chickens, I know I can. So, and I didn't realize how much I was going to fall in love with those little girls. And they are just such a great little break for me. Look, it's work. There's no doubt. You got to feed them. You got to water them. You got to clean them. You got to collect the eggs. You know, there's stuff that has to happen there. But And if you're looking to save money on buying eggs by buying chickens, don't, because they're expensive. They're not. You got to buy the feed and the coop and all, you know, and kind of keep them up. Although with what egg prices have done recently, it might be worth the investment.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, when you buy a little chick, you're 6 to 8 months away from getting your first egg, and those are a long 6 to 8 months.
So how many do you have?
I've got 5 hens currently.
Okay, and how many eggs do they produce weekly?
2. Well, they produce 2 to 4 a day right now.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're no shortage of eggs right now, ever, really.
The funny part is my kids don't eat eggs.
Really?
It's crazy. They do a little bit, but you know. So yeah. So yeah, those are my girls. They're a lot of fun. I really do enjoy them, and I've got a couple of different breeds. And with this time that I have, I am getting ready to build a new coop. That thing is really tiny for those 5 girls. And so I'm going to build one that's going to be sort of at the fence level and a lot wider. And then I'll probably end up getting some more chicks once I do that.
Well, that's awesome. And you're right in where are you at in New Orleans? Are you you're outside of the central area?
I'm in Metairie, so I'm about 6 blocks from the New Orleans parish line.
Gotcha.
I'm in Jefferson Parish, but I'm about 6 blocks from New Orleans. I live right by I-10 and I-610, kind of by that split that goes into New Orleans or goes around it. And so I'm 15 minutes from anything in the city, which when we could get out and do stuff is really cool.
That is nice. Well, I'm sure being from there and being down there, you know, you probably know a lot of people who own bars and restaurants, and that's the heart of the city there. What have you heard feedback from them of how they're doing to make it through all this right now?
So restaurants that can serve takeout meals do.
Yeah.
And they're doing takeout, and so you can go drive through and take out. You know, Zia, for example, is one that's a BNI member.
Okay.
And I don't know if they have one of their restaurants up in Shreveport.
I don't believe so, but I'm familiar with the restaurant.
Yeah. So you can go drive through Zia's parking lot, order your food ahead of time, go drive through. They hand it to you on a tray, so you're not touching, they're not touching.
Yeah.
So restaurants and bars that can do that are doing that. I want to give a plug to Port Orleans Brewery. Port Orleans is on Tchoupitoulas, right off of Napoleon. Don Noel, the managing partner, is a good friend. They started out of their kitchen. They started serving service industry people that are out of work free meals and beer.
That's awesome.
So you can go by Port Orleans, and Zach Streif is one of the owners. He's a former Saints player and the Saints color analyst. I'm sorry, not the color analyst. He's the broadcaster for the Saints game day. He's a part owner in the brewery, and he was on TV the other day talking about, hey man, we're just trying to help people. We're down right now. Everybody's down. So they're preparing food and beer for folks that are in need, which I think a lot of restaurants are starting to follow suit to do those kinds of things. But they're hurting just like everybody else.
Yeah.
They can't work at capacity. Some of them have shut down at this point, questioning whether or not they'll be able to come back. And there's definitely going to be that kind of turnover.
Yeah.
You're going to see this is going to have a long-term lasting effect. I'll give you my opinion. My opinion is that we don't get back to life until we have a vaccine for this thing. Until there's some sort of, and we're 12 to 18 months away from that vaccine. Now, will we be able to come back a little bit? Yeah, we will. We'll be able to get back to meeting and face-to-face, but we'll still have to practice use some safe practices to keep ourselves from getting sick. So, the million-dollar question for me is, once you have it, are you immune to it? And I haven't heard a definitive one way or another on that. And if that was the case, then that's really a blessing. And if it's not the case, if it's like the flu where you can get it over and over again, the vaccine is going to be an absolute must.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I hate to, I don't want to say this this is not negative at all, but it's been a blessing and a curse in some aspects for people who needed a wake-up call. I'm not going to say it's it's horrible for everyone right now, but there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of people, not necessarily business, but maybe personal, that needed a step back to really realize what's important. Because I think that's been the most important thing for me and people around me is we're all connecting more now than we ever have, even though we're not able to touch each other or get close, or shake hands or anything. It's definitely nice to see. It's been humbling on social media. It's not been as much negative. You will see negative about politics and stuff like that, but there's been a lot of even people making light of the memes and stuff, just trying to entertain themselves while they have nothing to do. But it's, you see people going out delivering food to these medical workers who can't even leave the hospital. Maybe they're 2 or 3 days at a time. And then you see these workers are then getting infected, and they're having, so there's just a lot of negative going on in that aspect. But I feel like that as a society, we've been a lot, more responsive in a positive manner, where normally that you don't see that on a day-to-day basis nationwide.
Well, it's funny you say it is absolutely humbling.
Yeah.
As a society, we felt like we were rolling, right? We got it going on, and then all of a sudden, this little thing that you can't even see, this little bitty thing you can't even see, stops everything.
Yeah.
Stops everything. So it gives you an opportunity to really step back and reflect about what's important in life, what's important to you, and how can you, I love the point about how do we help people? Yeah. How do we help our frontline workers, our EMS, our docs, our nurses, our technicians that are in this thing for, days at a time without a break? It is really humbling. I think that's the right word for it.
And there's a lot of other businesses. I was thinking about this morning, that are affected, but they're still working. But the way they're doing business has shifted completely. Like you have your bank people. They probably had to lay off half of their workers, but then you still have them operating every single day. But they're not getting any human interaction anymore inside the bank. It's all remote. Whether it be ATM or through the drive-through. And then you also have other industries that we don't even think about beside those, like police officers still have to work, law enforcement still have to work, shedding light on them. And, no matter what happens, if they have to you know, subdue someone or whatever, there's contact. There has to be. Those people are in the line of fire as well, you know.
Yeah, it's a scary time, but you know, we are resilient as people, and on the other side of this thing, I think we're going to find a lot of great humanity and a lot of great stories about people that did things that were just absolutely heroic. And you know, those are the stories that you try and lean in on and try and focus on, as opposed to, you know, how many people got sick and what the death rate was. I mean, certainly those are things that you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
But let's try and focus on the good stuff that comes out of it.
Well, what are you guys' plans whenever, hopefully we're looking at, last update we got was April 30th. What are your plans to get everything back in motion once that day, you know, once we roll over to the new month?
You know, we're staying in constant communication with our leaders, with our chapter leaders, to encourage them to keep their chapters together through this time,
Yeah.
and meet on Zoom. And as soon as we get permission and your venue opens up, even if your venue doesn't open up, we'll find you another venue.
Yeah.
So let's have that first meeting, and let's make sure we continue to practice safe social distancing practices, even if we're allowed in May to come back and start to meet face to face. You know, I would recommend the Japanese bow as opposed to the handshake.
Yeah.
Or something where we're not touching each other.
Yeah. I mean, we're all up here doing the elbow bump right now.
Elbow bump. Although, you know, look, for MMA fighters, that gets scary, you know.
Yeah.
That elbow bump. Oh, hey, hold on. No. But seriously, you know, we want to get our chapters, and I know our members want to get back to face-to-face as soon as possible. But I think we're going to have some precautions and follow some guidelines as we do that.
I feel like, yeah, I agree. I feel like even though that'll lift, it's still going to be a slow progression getting back into the regular day-to-day for everyone. In the fitness world, you know, I'm always working out or talking to people in that industry, and everyone's freaking out because no one can go to a gym right now, whether it be a fighter, an athlete, or an enthusiast who likes to work out at the gym every day. We're having to be creative at home.
Yes.
those at-home workouts that everyone, you know, people have been pushing for the past few years are actually, you know, really getting a lot of attention right now. But I was thinking about this and talking to someone yesterday. Gyms probably aren't going to open immediately. You have to think about that. That's another precaution you're going to have to take. It may be another month after these next 30 days before we even see those start opening, because there's so much contact in there and there's so many people so, you know, close together.
You would literally need to have a custodian there to wipe down the machine after every workout.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to come to that, and then, you know, what you're just going to have a select few people that are willing to put themselves at risk to come out anyway. You know, so is it worth opening? So, yeah, I mean, it's going to affect a lot of businesses in that way, where coming back there's going to be, and I hate this term, and I've heard it from, you know, since Katrina, but it's the new normal, right? I mean, it's the situation we happen to find ourselves in. We've got to take those steps, those precautionary measures to protect everyone.
Well, since you said that, let me ask you this. How are you guys, being that you've been through a tragedy in the city that, you know, almost wiped the city completely out, is it almost this, what's the effect difference now versus what happened then? Are you seeing people come together like they did before? Or, you know, what are the...
Not quite yet, because everybody's still at home,
right?
And distancing and staying safe.
Right.
I'll say a couple of things. There is no city in the, well, I can't say in the world, but there is many other cities other than New Orleans and really South Louisiana and Southern Mississippi and Florida. I guess we prepare for hurricanes.
Right.
We prepare to shelter in place for weeks at a time. We had Hurricane Isaac a couple of years ago, probably 2008, I want to say, hit us, where we were in the house for a week and a half without electricity.
Yeah.
At least I have electricity.
Yeah.
At least I have air conditioning, and I've got food, and I've got grocery stores that are open. So it's different in that we have services we wouldn't normally have when we go through a crisis or something like that. So I feel like we're a little bit better prepared.
Right.
I thought, quite honestly, that my alcohol stash was going to last longer than it did. Just saying, got to make a trip, go get some more wine. But, you know, so that's the difference here, is that we're kind of used to this. This is
Right.
something that happens to us, not on a regular basis, but enough that we're prepared and we understand, okay, this is how you prepare with food. This is how we won't need bottled water, you know, but we got it anyway, just in case, you know.
Right.
So I'm hoping that hurricane season takes this season off and lets us get through this without any storms coming our way. But I think we're uniquely positioned as a society or as a community down here because we've been through it.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I figured, you know, being that you're having to plan ahead and buy goods or whatever it may be, and then knowing that you can't leave your home for however long, it's open-ended, really. You know, whether it's even in that situation, it's open-ended, so you don't know what you're going to be dealing with, and it's kind of just unforeseen. And yeah, I know you guys have been through that quite a bit down there. So all that being said, you mentioned alcohol, and I'm going to talk about that real quick. It's the state, and I'm not sure if they've done this nationwide, but everyone's able to have to-go drinks now, which we're used to that in Louisiana anyways. And I know you guys are used to that in New Orleans. But I definitely, I heard statistics the other day, and alcohol sales went up 45%. So that's our industry.
Yes, but the bars are closed.
Right, exactly.
So whatever money you'd have spent at the bar, you now spent at the grocery store or the liquor store. You know, here in New Orleans, we have grocery stores that are stocked full of, and in Louisiana, but you go to other states, their liquor is controlled by the state, and it's a separate, you know, it's a state store. So we're very fortunate in that I can walk down the street to the grocery and get what it is that I need. But yeah, it's interesting. You know, there's nothing wrong with a little cocktail at the end of the day.
No, I completely agree.
A little bit of relaxation, a little bit to help relax your mind. Now, if you're starting happy hour at 10:30 a.m., you know, you might want to check yourself in that. You know, because that's probably not the healthiest thing for you. But you know, I find, DJ, it's weird. My wife and I are finding that we're losing a little bit of weight through this.
Really?
We've been home 2 weeks, and I looked at her and said, "Well, we're not had any fast food, fast food. We've not had anything processed. Yeah. Everything we've eaten has been homemade and controlling portions and whatnot. Now, I've not lost a ton of weight, but I'm not gaining. You know, so it's kind of interesting. I wonder if other folks are having the same experience.
I'm sure a lot of people, and you know, this is a good time to learn how to cook, because there's a lot of people that don't know how to cook, you know, prepare food at home. And honestly, right now during these times, that's the best way to save money. And I eat every 3 hours. So I'm seeing myself cook a lot, and, you know, I do the meal prep thing, which is, fortunately, I do have a company that does that, you know, that I pay every week, but still, that's not enough. You still got to cook every now and then. And unfortunately, I love to cook, you know, but so you said your kids, how old are your kids now?
They're 11.
So what are they doing to stay in, you know, what are you doing to keep them entertained? You guys, you having to do the homeschooling thing yet, or what's going on with that?
So my boys were homeschooled already.
Okay.
The state of Louisiana has a charter homeschool called University View Academy. You can look them up online. University View Academy. My boys, this is their second year homeschooled. They're in 6th grade this year, so they've done 5th and 6th homeschool. They're already used to this.
Got you.
Now, they were very disappointed, because when the governor first said schools were closed, they got so excited. And then they realized that they were going to have to continue to do work. A little bit lighter of a curriculum, a little bit lighter of a workload going through this. But no, they're still doing schoolwork every day. We ride bikes around the neighborhood. They've got scooters. We've got that they ride around the neighborhood. So we try and keep them busy. And like I mentioned earlier, that Fortnite is on my TV a good portion of the day when they're not doing school. And that's actually a good reward for them. If you want to play Fortnite, you got to finish your work, man.
Yeah, that's something to look forward to. Well, what would be your advice to people who are not used to homeschooling, since you are now, to those people who may be a bit frantic dealing with this and not used to having their kids being there 24/7 and having to establish a curriculum with them and make them, it's a whole shift in everything right now.
Absolutely. First thing I'd say is create a routine, some sort of routine for your kids. We get up at 8, we get up at 7:30, we have breakfast, we go for a walk, we do a little physical activity, and then we get some lessons done, and then we have a snack, and just some sort of routine. Kids need that routine. It helps them feel safe and normal. Just letting them do what they want is going to be frustrating for you.
Yeah.
Try and keep your patience. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to be patient with them, but they're in a really scary time as well, because they don't really understand what's going on or the severity of it. I try and keep my boys informed, but not too informed. And I try and stay patient with them. And look, it is a challenge, because, we all get excited.
Yeah.
So routine, try and keep some patience, and then have fun with them. Play board games with them, play dominoes, play video games with them. Do things that you don't normally get the opportunity to do because you're so busy running around working and networking and doing all the things that you do on a daily basis. Take that time. What did we watch night before last? We watched Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. It's an 80s movie, right? Way back. But we're watching movies like that with them and keeping time, and teach your kids how to cook. Have them cook with you, and do things that are fun for them and fun for you, and shut off the social media, shut off the TV. Check in on it, see where we are, see where you are, but just get your head out of it and use this as a time to connect with your family.
I'm glad you said that about the social media. I feel like I've seen you would think you would see an uptick in activity and posts, but you really don't, because people are restricted to what they can do.
Yeah.
If they do put something out there, it's either, a complaint about the situation, a positive reflection about the situation, or, you don't see much else right now. There's not a lot of people out doing things, so you're not seeing people posting their, where they're at, what they're doing, drama with this person or that person, that. So it's kind of, there's a refreshing pulse there, now.
I'm gonna start posting pictures of my chickens.
You should. Hey, man, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would want to look into that now, especially being at home and, having that opportunity. Well,
there are a couple of Facebook groups that are our backyard chicken groups on Facebook that people,
oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. Full of folks that go, hey, they'll post something and say, hey, show me your chicken coop. I'm thinking about building a new one. And people will post their chicken coops in the chat. And, it's really interesting. So if you are interested in chickens, I'd say 2 things. Number 1, there's a book on Amazon called A Chicken for Every Backyard. Go get that book and read that book. And after reading that book, if you still want chickens, if you still feel like you can do it, then you get you a coop and get you some chicks. And just like I said, though, 6 to 8 months before you get an egg.
That's an investment there.
You gotta be patient.
Well, you said you mentioned that book. You're an avid reader, aren't you?
I wish I was. I'm a little ADHD to be an avid reader.
Okay.
But I do force myself to get through business books. I force myself, and then listening. Audio is really great for me.
Well, what's something you're listening to lately, whether book or audio, for business minded or positive vibes that you may want to refer to someone who may be listening or watching?
One of my favorite books, and I'll go through a list of them for you. I've got quite a few. I love Jack Canfield's The Success Principles in Life, teach you how to have that positivity, that positive attitude. He's got a formula in there that says E plus R equals O, and it's the event that happens to you, the response so that's E plus R is your response to that event equals the outcome. So, I love his that book, The Success Principles. John Collins wrote a book called Good to Great. And he wrote a book previous to that called Built to Last. I haven't read Built to Last, but Good to Great is an awesome business book. Okay. It talks about companies that have gone from good to great and why they did that, what were the commonalities between those companies. And then he talked about the companies in that industry that failed. So one of the examples that he uses is Walgreens versus Edward Drugs. You don't see Eckerd Drugs anymore.
No, yeah.
But there's a Walgreens on every corner. And so that one, I really, the first chapter of that book reads kind of like stereo instructions. So the first chapter, but get through that first chapter and it becomes some great research documentation. I read one last year called Retention Point. So if you've got a membership-based organization, a guy named Robert Scrobe wrote a book called Retention Point that talks about what membership organizations need to do to retain their members. I think that one is really, really good for us. The 4 Disciplines of Execution is another one that I thought that was really good. It talks about the discipline that you and your team need to have in order to achieve goals and execute. It's really hard to implement, I'll tell you now. It is really hard to be that disciplined in the execution, but if you can find a way to make it really simple and find one thing that your team focuses on and you hold your people accountable, it's a great book to read. And then the last one I'll mention here is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. The E-Myth Revisited. He's a couple of versions out there. That book discusses the difference between a technician and a business owner. So earlier in our conversation, I talked to you about becoming executive director and business owner. And I went, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? That book addresses that.
There's a lot of people that they look at that. And thank you for mentioning all those, because I really feel like now more than ever those are going to be good books that people can look into while they're on the downtime to give them a possible uptick, whether it be in business or just overall moving forward right now. But yeah, when you said that, like there's a shift, and a lot of people think they want to be that person. And until they get in those shoes, and they realize there's a whole shift in how everything works. You have to worry about operations. You have to worry about payroll. You have to worry about, this and that. You have to deal with the drama of employees, members, whatever it may be. And that's a lot to take on than just kind of come to work, put your head down, doing your job and going home. That's
right. I mean, and look, it could be any profession. And I've used electricians and plumbers and trades folks. You go out. You've got your certificate, how to do the job, you're certified, you've apprenticed under someone, you're the technician, and you become really good at it, and you go, you know what, I'm out here working for this person and making them a whole bunch of money. I need to do this myself. I can do this on my own. And you go out and you discover very quickly the difference between being that technician and that business owner. Well, there's a wide gap there. That needs to be filled. And so, those books will really help. And those are ones that I always recommend to our new BNI members, especially that not the Good to Great, the E-Myth one, because a lot of them have become business owners from being technicians. They join a BNI chapter and suddenly they have more business than they can handle.
Yeah.
And then they quit their BNI chapter. They quit doing the thing that they were doing that made them busy to go handle the business, and all of a sudden it dries up.
I've been doing it the past 4.5 years, I believe. And I've seen at least 10 or 12 people do that. I'm just like, God, if you just would, have implemented something different, this could be a blessing, instead of, oh, I'm busy. I'm too busy now. I don't need it anymore.
Hire people. You got to be prepared to scale.
Delegate.
And hire people.
And delegate. The hardest thing for business owners or people, is delegating that thing. They think they're the only person that can do it, and they don't want to let go of it. Right. And it is frustrating. I've been faced with that. I didn't realize I was that bad about it, but I am, and I've been having to make myself delegate different things, so that we can grow, and do what we need to do. Well, I have a couple more minutes here, and thank you again for coming on. So what's your drink of choice right now? What's your cocktail of choice while you're at home dealing with this, or just on a regular basis?
Well, I tell you that I attended that bartender's, Stefan's presentation, so I make a pretty good mojito right now.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can see that right there is an old toilet that I have mint planted in. So I've got fresh mint in the backyard.
That's great.
Pretty good mojito. I love cold beer. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But, but see, the beer just adds to me. So I've been trying to stay away from it. But really a little vodka soda drink is really kind of my drink of choice. If I'm drinking at happy hour, if I'm going into a late night, if it's sort of 9 p.m. and I just want a little nightcap, I'll take some Woodford Reserve Double
Oh
Oak,
yeah.
put it over a big cube of ice, and just sit there and sip on that. And I find myself sitting back here smoking more cigars than I should be. Normally I'm so busy I don't get to smoke a cigar, but
Yeah.
but I've been doing that a little bit too, and just trying to enjoy some time.
Hey, I like that. I'm a whiskey guy myself. And that being said, I always like to give my guests gifts for coming on. So since I can't see you and give you something, I purchased you a gift card from sipwhiskey.com. I was hoping that you would drop a whiskey line here somewhere in this conversation, but they also do have beer, wine, and other spirits. But so I'm going to email you that after we get done today.
Thank you, DJ.
And yeah, I wanted to say thank you again for coming on. Are there any last thoughts or, anything you want to put out there to any of my listeners or viewers?
Sure. Look, folks, be assured we will get through this. We are resilient people. As Americans, we are in the greatest country in the world, and we will figure this out. We will come out on the other end of this thing successful. The point here, though, is to keep yourself and your family safe while we go through it. And I wish you all well, and I hope you stay safe and stay healthy, and look forward to when we get back to meeting face-to-face, seeing you guys face-to-face, so I can give you a little elbow ball.
All right, Tim. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. And everyone, please subscribe to the podcast. You have a good day.
Thanks, DJ. You too, buddy.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care.
All right.